Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about a 2012 Euro style tile laying game. We're going to be talking about Keyflower, and in this game you'll be bidding on tiles, placing them into your village. You'll be using your tiles or maybe your opponent's tiles to give you victory points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We're telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Keyflower is still worth your time and bother 10 years after it was first bloody released. That seems like it was released yesterday, doesn't it? So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below, hit the like button and all that bollocks, and we'll see you after this. Bollocks. So Keyflower takes place over a certain number of seasons: spring, summer, autumn and winter. You're going to sort the tiles out into piles dependent what season icon they've got on them, and you're going to chuck all the meeples in the bag except for the purple meeples. Hello, future me here. Just had a look at this and I've made a mistake. I've mistakenly mistaken green meeples for purple meeples for some bizarre reason. It's not that I'm colourblind, it's probably just that I'm a fucking idiot. But then you knew that. Stop fucking about, crack on. Who are sort of a little bit special, a bit like me. You're going to reach into the bag and give every player 8 random coloured meeples. You're going to give them a player screen and you're going to give them 3 winter tiles from the pile, right? So the way this game works is that each tile has got 6 sides, right? And dependent on where you're sitting on the table, you'll have a side of the hex allocated you. If you've got 6 players, every player is going to have a side of the hex allocated to them, right? And you do this in like a logical manner if you have got any kind of logic whatsoever. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to set up the new season, right? You're going to set up the boats. You're going to stick a load of meeples on the boats, right? You're going to set up the turn, all the tiles which you can bid on in order to go first, second, third, fourth in the next round, right? You'll draw new season tiles, and in the winter bit of this, select which winter season tiles you're going to want to use from your hand, right? So there's only 2 things you're going to be doing in this game. You're going to be either bidding on a tile that's in the central display, or you're going to be using a tile, whether it's your own tile or your opponent's tile, right? If you're going to be bidding on a tile, you'll take one of your meeples and you'll place it along the edge of the hex, your edge of the hex, what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago. If you've got a memory of a goldfish, you ain't going to remember, are you? But you'll stick it next to the side of the tile that is allocated to you. There's a couple of things you've got to remember here, is that if there's already a meeple on the tile, or if the tile has already been bid on, you have to follow the colour. So if there's already a yellow meeple on the tile, then it stands to reason you're going to have to put a yellow meeple on the side, right? So you also got to remember that you've got to bid at least 1 more than the previous bid, and there can never be more than 6 meeples on a tile at once. And if you get booted out, you can use that meeple to increase a bid somewhere else or start a new bid on a tile that don't have any bids, right? So if you want to use a tile, you can either use your own tile or you can use somebody else's. You'll just place the meeple on the tile and you'll take the action associated with that tile. So you might have the fair, and this allows you to convert 1 red meeple into 2 green meeples, or you might have the store, and this converts 1 blue worker into 1 green worker. One thing about this is you can pay the relevant resources to upgrade a tile, right? And you flip it over and then it becomes a more powerful version of the previous thing, right? So if you have upgraded the hiring fair, it allows you to turn 1 tool into 3 tools, and likewise if you upgrade the mason, then you can trade in 1 pickaxe for 3 gold, right? So it's in your interest not only to bid on these things but also to get resources to upgrade them as well, right? So if you want to use a tile that is some distance away from your starting tile, you can use what's called transport, which is the donkey symbols, to transport goods to that tile. So say if you wanted to use a tile that required a couple of stone, right, and you've got stone on your starting hex, you can use the transport donkeys to move that so many spaces, like 1 hex per donkey. So once you are done, you'll do a little bit of cleanup. Any unsuccessful bids, all the meeples will go back to you. Any successful bids, they'll go back into the bag. Likewise, if somebody else has bid on the tiles in your village, you get to keep those meeples, right? So if you have a load of attractive tiles in your village, then you're going to be able to gain more meeples and stick them behind your screen, right? So next thing you're going to do is you're going to resolve the turn order tiles. Depending on how many players there are, there's going to be a certain number of these, and whoever wins the number 1 turn order tile will go first, second, third, fourth, and all that sort of shit, yeah? And then any of the tiles that you won in the auction, you'll be able to expand your village. It's got to be like for like, so it's like Carcassonne or Archipelago, where you've got to match terrain types as you place it. And you'll keep doing this, you'll keep going through all the seasons until you get to winter, and then you'll get to choose at least one of the winter hexes you can put into play, and then you'll do a bit of final scoring, right? You'll be able to exchange a purple meeple, which is like a wild card meeple. So you can use a purple meeple as a green, red, or yellow meeple, or whatever you want to do. You can exchange these meeples for a skill token or a resource, right? And you'll score each village tile. You get the victory points that are on the tile, and then if you haven't used any gold, you get 1 victory point for that, and whoever has the most victory points at the end of the winter round will be the winner of Keyflower. So what do we like about Keyflower? So the first thing that we really like about this is that the auction system is done really, really well. It's not going to be very messy, is it? Because you'll be able to see exactly who's bid what and when. And the thing is anything you bid isn't actually wasted. You're going to be able to take them off if you get outbid, and you'll be able to either start a new auction, or you'll be able to add to an auction that you have already got meeples involved in, right? So it reminds us a little like the auction mechanism in Cyclades, where if you're kicked out, you have to go somewhere else, and that can disrupt the plans of others. And where there's always so many tiles in this game to have a look at, you're going to be second guessing where your opponents are going to be going if you kick them out, right? So you might kick them out on one tile, and then they come back and bite you in the arse on another one. So the second thing that we really like about Keyflower is that when opponents use your tiles, you get to keep the tiles that they dump there. And where you always have to put more meeples on the tiles than there were there previously, it may be the case if you've got some lucrative tiles, then people are going to want to use them, and you end up with a huge posse of meeples on the tiles, right? And this also works against you, right? You might end up gifting other people meeples, right, if they have the lucrative tiles. So this makes the auction of the tiles that much more important. You're going to have to make a decision as to whether or not it's going to be more beneficial for you to block your opponent, or whether or not it's going to be more beneficial for you letting them have that tile and you take something else. So the final thing that we like about Keyflower is that the bidding in turn order is a very, very important mechanism in this, because it means that you get first dibs on the new tiles that are going to come out each season, but it also means that you're going to be taking valuable meeples away from yourself that could be used to buy the really, really powerful tiles that are in the center of the table, right? So this game seems to be about choices and decisions. There's these agonizing choices in this game. Should I be doing this? Is this going to benefit me more than this? Both options are lucrative and fantastic, but it's trying to weigh up which one of those more lucrative options is going to be the best and most efficient. So what don't we like about Keyflower? So the first thing that we don't like about Keyflower is that it's a massive table hog, especially with high player counts. And usually these days we normally play with 5 or 6 people at the table, right? So when you're playing a 6-player game, it's going to take up the whole of our 5-foot table, and even then there's not going to be a lot of space left over. So just bear this in mind, that if you are thinking about playing Keyflower with high player counts, say 5 or 6, you're going to need a big table. Don't try and play this on a fucking bistro table, all right? So the second thing that we don't like about Keyflower, and this leads on from the previous point about it being a table hog, is that if you are playing with the massive sprawling 6-player, 5-player game, then it's going to be very difficult, A, for you to see what your opponent's tiles are, and B, it's going to be very difficult for you to remember them all, because there's going to be loads and loads of tiles to remember, right? So it might be the case Aunt Mabel has maybe got the mason, and you really need that. You can't really see what she's got. You can't really remember because you're thinking about what Uncle Derek has got over there. There does seem to be a lot to take in, a lot to remember, a lot of variables, a lot of icons to remember, and it can muddle your brain somewhat. So the final thing, and the thing that fucks me off the most about this game, is that the rulebook is too dense for a game of this sort of simplicity. I mean, it's not a very simple game, is it? You're going to be either bidding on a tile, you're going to be using a tile, right? That's it. Obviously there's a few more nuances, little fiddly rules to remember, but the rule book is massive. It's a big chunky fuck off rule book with dense text, loads of examples, and I just found myself getting lost in there, and that makes the game a complete bastard to teach. It's not set out in a logical way. The best way to teach this is to go on the internet and get a rule summary and just go through that. It's a 1-page rule summary that breaks the game down, right? So really the rule book is sort of throwaway. It's just too meaty, too chunky, and it reminds me of dog food. So to summarise, is Keyflower still worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we're going to say yes, absolutely. Being fans of Eurogames, this is now one of our favourite tile laying games of all time, right? It's got a fun and innovative auction system that presents you with some really interesting choices to make. It can sprawl across the table, and with high play counts, this can make it very difficult to remember what all the tiles do, and that sort of might mean that you slip up when making those critical decisions. But with all that aside, this is an enduring Euro game that plays up to 6, and that's one of the reasons why we like it so much, because it really does slot into those higher player counts that we seem to be knocking out these days. So yeah, there you go. That's Keyflower. Highly recommended Euro game if you like that sort of thing. Remember, if you're new here, consider subscribing to this channel, eh? Leave a comment in that section down below, like this video, all that bollocks, and we'll see you next Tuesday.